The White House says it will keep putting economic and political pressure on North Korea after the death of Otto Warmbier, days after being released from prison and returned to the U.S. by the Kim Jong-un regime. The State Department is weighing response options, including more sanctions or action in international court. President Trump suggested this morning the tragedy could have been avoided.
It's a total disgrace what happened to Otto. That should never, ever be allowed to happen. And frankly, if he were brought home sooner, I think the result would have been a lot different. He should have been brought home that same day. The result would have been a lot different. But what happened to Otto is a disgrace.
Here to talk about the North Korea situation, rising tensions between the U.S. and Russia, and other global flashpoints, including what we just saw tonight in Brussels. We have former U.S. ambassador to the UN and Fox News contributor John Bolton. Ambassador Bolton, welcome. Let me start with one of the tweets that the president sent out today. He basically essentially said, you know, look, I was hoping China could help here. China can't do this in terms of North Korea. He says, I was hoping they could help with North Korea. It hasn't worked out. At least I know China tried. If we can't count on China to be putting the right kind of pressure on North Korea, what is it that we can do to start getting them to change their ways?
Well, I think the president's being gracious toward China. I don't think they were serious about pressuring North Korea on the nuclear weapons program. They never have been. They've been acting in a way that they say one thing to us and do another. But when you look at the entire course of North Korea's behavior for 25 years or longer, it's been a pattern of outright deception consistently. It really goes back to the armistice negotiations in 1953. They lie about everything. They lie about their nuclear program. They lie about their ballistic missile program. They lie about their intentions on the peninsula. They lie about how they treat people they capture. And it's not just Americans, South Koreans, Japanese, and others. And they're prepared to say almost anything to relieve the pressure we and others put on from the outside, but never to comply with it for an extended period of time. This is not a regime that a little outside pressure is going to change. And I think it's about time we figured it out. If
all right. So let's fast forward,
stability in the region,
you got to be willing to take some action. Nobody wants to see us engaged in any kind of warfare, right, with North Korea. So I guess what I'd ask is, and perhaps this is terribly naive of me, Ambassador, but this is a bad guy. Why can't we do something to specifically go after the bad guy? Why do we have to run the risk that that bad guy may annihilate many, many people if we engage in any kind of conventional warfare? Why can't we just take him out?
Because I think at the present time, while that's a very desirable objective, I'm not sure we would know how to do it. And I think it's not necessarily a permanent solution to the problem we face. Look, the tragedy of Otto Warmbier is very much in our minds, but it's not the central threat. The central threat is the nuclear weapons program. And we followed a policy for 25 years of negotiation which has failed. So I think we have to say to ourselves, what comes next? And the answer is diplomatic options are very limited. Sure, you're absolutely right to say nobody wants war on the peninsula, except maybe North Korea in their own bizarre form of reasoning if they feel threatened.
So Ambassador, do we have a plan, though, for who we would put there?
No,
other
we do not
than
have a plan.
This guy?
We do not have a plan. That's the problem. We are not thinking strategically. And what we need to do, I think, the only remaining diplomatic option is to try and find a way to reunite the Korean Peninsula in a way that ends the North Korean regime. This is my point about not affecting their behavior. Their behavior isn't going to change. You're talking about the character of a regime that represses its own people, commits terrorist acts, pursues nuclear weapons, and lies about all of it.
Ambassador, the thing that's frustrating for me, I keep hearing we don't have a plan. I mean, you look at Syria, and I say, shouldn't our plan be to get rid of Bashar al-Assad? We don't want him there. He's doing bad things to his people. But the thinking is, well, we don't know what's next. And then you're entangling yourself with Russia, as we already have, by the way. You look at what's been happening just the last 2 days, Ambassador.
Well, I think the president's instincts are in the right direction. The problem is he follows 8 years of an administration whose strategy was to reduce American influence, to withdraw American instruments of power, and to get us into a situation that's even more complicated than it was before. So it's not easy. But the bureaucracy, I have to say, is not coming up with a strategy to aid the president's instinct.
Well, and it's frustrating because, look, they had 8 years of a guy that was there really doing nothing, but people should have been thinking so that they knew once they had this opportunity with someone who was willing to go out and make these hard choices and hard decisions, they had a game plan in place.